Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So just because you're dealt a bad hand in life doesn't mean you're doomed for failure. It doesn't mean that you have to fail. It only means that you're going to have to work harder than everybody else. And people don't like to hear that sometimes, but it's the truth. So if you were born into a broken home and you didn't have a father, like mine, that doesn't mean you have to end up a certain way, which a lot of people deem as negative. It doesn't mean you have to end up in the streets as a criminal. It doesn't mean you have to end up some little pussy beta male, mama's boy. It doesn't mean you have to end up without work skills or without relationship skills. It doesn't mean you have to end up a bad person. Do a lot of people who have problems come from broken homes? Absolutely. Is a two-parent family ideal? Absolutely. That's what, if you're in a relationship and you're having kids, you should strive to stay together in order to raise that child. That's what people should do, but we can't live in a world full of shoulds, because reality says that relationships break up. Shit happens. Lots and lots of women end up single parents. And are those kids doomed? No. There's successful people out there who you can use as models of people that have become great people. And they've come from broken homes, and all it has meant is that they've had to work a little harder to get those lessons. Maybe they didn't have some Andy Griffith father teaching them how to fish or play catch, but they still learned how to fish and play catch. There's all kinds of male role models out there, and it's just up for you to find them. You have to work a little harder at it. You know, if you grew up poor, like I did, apartment projects, you can use that as an excuse of why you end up poor. Or you could use that as motivation to become successful. You can use it as an excuse of why you end up the way you end up as an adult. This is the way I've always been. My whole family's been this way. We're from the ghetto and we'll always be in the ghetto. I've heard people make these statements. But just because you've been dealt a bad hand doesn't mean you need to play the victim for the rest of your life. You don't need to have that victim mentality. That's a choice. Having a victim mentality is a choice. You can just as easily choose to have a strong mentality, to be the master of your own journey. It takes a lot of risk. You might have to work harder than other people. There's nothing worse than a lazy motherfucker who complains all the time. It's the worst thing. In fact, those are the ones that usually complain the most because they're the weakest. Doing anything is hard for a lazy motherfucker. Some people, you just can't get them to even lift a finger. You wonder what they're even doing alive. Why are you even alive? You're a waste of space. That's a victimhood mentality. These are people that have no discipline. Discipline doesn't have to be taught to you. Nobody taught me how to be disciplined. I'm one of the most disciplined people you ever meet. Nobody ever taught me that. I didn't learn that from a father. I didn't have a father around. I didn't learn that from a coach. I had to learn it on my own. Through my own failures, through my own laziness, through looking around me and saying, I don't like sitting in this swamp. I'm going to clean the fucking place up. I don't like being the person I am. I'm going to change my fucking self. I'm going to fight to survive. Sometimes you have to fight a little harder when you're dealt a bad hand. You know, what if you have psychological problems, developmental disorders? What if you have a a lifetime of trauma that's led you to depression and anxiety and all kinds of just issues? What if you were born with stuff that you couldn't even control, like learning disabilities? And I could go on and on with psychological stuff. I've had all that. I've had those problems. Did I let any of it stop me? No. I've learned to conquer each one of them. I don't mind labels. Some people say, oh, these psychological labels are all just bullshit. It can be incredibly helpful to learn what label that you have, because it gives you a goal to overcome. Oh, so I have ADHD? Okay. Well, I'm going to work on that. I have PTSD? Okay. I can accept that. I'm going to work on that. It's a little weak, lazy motherfucker that wants to close their ears and fold their arms and say, nope, 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 nope. Those don't exist. Those things don't exist. There's nothing wrong with having a list of little issues that you have to overcome. I just look at them as hurdles. That's why I've never taken drugs from psychiatrists, and I've been offered all of them. All the antidepressants, all that shit. If they had their way, they'd have me loaded up on various drugs. I'd be eating them out of a trough every day. But that doesn't solve your problems. That's not how you get over hurdles. That's just how you pacify yourself. You just become addicted to those pills. Your problems are still there, and you become more and more afraid of them whenever your pills run low. And you should be, because your problems are going to be sitting there waiting for you like demons. I've chose to fight. And what does it mean when I haven't taken those types of drugs? That means I have to fight harder than the rest. I've had to conquer PTSD, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, all kinds of problems, and fight harder than the rest. I've had to conquer learning disabilities, dyslexia, and I've had to fight harder than the rest. It took me more to get through school. It takes me more to read than it may take for you to read. It may be easy for you to read. It's hard for me to read, but I do it anyways. I do it every single day. I train my mind. I'm disciplined with this fight. Maybe a little harder for somebody who doesn't have relationship skills. Some people, relationships are easy. I envy people like that. I've had a hard time having friends, having lovers. It's been hard for me, I'll admit that. It's not easy to admit that kind of stuff. I'm not married right now. But I've had to work on myself and learn that it's not about finding somebody who's perfect. It's not about finding a lover. It's about creating self-love. It's not about being on this hunt, chicken hawking, as they used to say, going to the club or wherever you go to the bar and try to find some pussy. That's not what it's about. That's not what finding love is about. It's about building character, becoming a virtuous person, searching for a life of meaning, having a rock that you can stand on instead of using somebody else as your rock, becoming your own anchor, so to speak, instead of having somebody else be your anchor, being able to manage during the lonely times and not using other people for validation like a weak little vampire sucking energy. Nothing more exhausting than having someone suck your energy. It's all about mental strength. Falling in love with yourself, becoming the type of person that you can be proud of. When you're the type of person, you create yourself into the type of person that you can love. Other people can love you. So you're not chasing anybody. You're chasing your demons. You may have to work a little harder at learning about relationships, learning about how to have friendships, how to be a true friend, how to be loyal. You may have to learn about this stuff. It may mean you have to read about it. It may mean that you have to experience some fucked up relationships and to think about, well, what went wrong? And then to change those aspects of yourself. It can be a humbling experience, but you may have to work harder at it. It may be so easy for some people. They have such great connections, such great friends. It just comes so easy for them. It has never come easy for me. I've had to work on myself. This is a lifelong journey. I'm always working on myself in order to become a better person, a better version of myself. And it's not ego. I'm not trying to be better than anybody else. I'm just trying to survive. I'm trying to do more than that, though. I'm trying to be happy. I'm trying to thrive. I've often felt survival is just for the weak. Thriving is for the strong. When I see other motherfuckers doing shit that I want to do, that I admire, I aspire to do that shit. I say, if he can do it, I can do it. All I got to do is work hard. You can't use other people's journey or other people as a model because it may have been easier for them. You don't know what they were fed. You don't know what kind of genetics they have. You don't know what kind of help they had. It may be harder for you. You can go and try what somebody else tried and it may not work for you. And what do? Throw up your arms and say, well, I'm cursed because I tried. That's what he did. I did the same thing that motherfucker did. And I didn't get nowhere. I've heard people say this type of shit before. It's like, so? So what if you tried the same thing he tried? You might have to try harder than him. He may swim better than you. You may have to try harder to swim. It may be 3 times as hard for you. But it doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means it's hard. Who said this life was going to be easy? Lazy motherfuckers want it to be easy. A strong motherfucker doesn't care. He'll meet the challenge. You got to learn to play the game or the game plays you. Just because you were dealt a bad set of cards, you have a bad hand, doesn't mean you're going to lose the game. Go ask poker players. My brother plays poker. He used to deal poker. He's played in all the casinos, and he's not a gambling addict or anything, but the guy is a slick poker player. I'll give him that. It's been a hobby of his for his whole life. When he gets dealt his hand, if it's not a perfect set of cards, he doesn't stomp off, cry in the bathroom. I'm just not meant to play this game. This sucks. Life's so hard. Everybody else has it so easy. No, you play the cards you're dealt. I get sick of the victim mindset because I get sick of complaining. I was homeless for a little while. There's nothing but victims out in the streets when they're homeless. Nobody wants to take responsibility for being there. I don't ever give homeless people money, and it's not because I don't have compassion. I have compassion, and that's why I don't give them money. Because if I give them money, they have no incentive to fight and claw their way up to the top, and that's what it takes. I got myself off the streets, and I had to fight and claw to do it. And if I would have just been some lazy motherfucker begging, I'd still be there. I'd still be in those streets. You got to have that eye of the tiger. You really have to be able to meet the fight. Try your hardest. And I figure with anything in my life, when I die, I may not be the richest. There may not be tons of people at my funeral. I may not have a lot of friends there crying. I may not have kids or a wife there draped over my casket. But whoever is there, they're going to be able to respect the fact that I tried till the day that I died. I tried my hardest at everything that I've tried to accomplish. I've been humble enough to see my problems and courageous enough to attack each one of them and to fight as hard as I could fight. So I may not have reached my goal. I could die being a piece of shit, but nobody's going to say that I didn't try. Victims don't try. They whine and complain. They shake their fist at the world. It's always everybody else's fault. Try harder, motherfucker.